The startling revelations of an occultist. How does magic affect the history of the world? Since antiquity, kings and leaders have turned to occultism and magic, and soothsayers and seers, quote unquote, to predict what their futures would be. Occultism is a broad term that encompasses many different practices and beliefs related to mystical and magical powers. The history of the occult goes back to ancient times, when people believed in the existence of spirits and gods, quote unquote, that could influence their lives. In the Middle Ages, the occult was associated with alchemy, which sought to turn ordinary metals into gold and find the elixir of immortality. In the Renaissance, occultism became more systematic and scientific, and famous figures such as John Dee, Henry Cornelius Agrippa, and Paracelsus emerged. In the 19th century, the occult became popular among elite circles in Europe and the United States, and then the term occultism appeared, which described all forms of mystical and magical practices. Many organizations were founded during this period, such as the Theosophical Society and the Order of the Golden Dawn, and one of the most famous figures associated with the cult in the 20th century was Adolf Hitler. He was convinced that the German people were the heirs of the superior race and should restore their former power and greatness. He became interested in the occult as early as the early 1920s, when he was the leader of the National Socialist Workers' Party. He frequented Aryan mystical groups and claimed to have obtained his knowledge of the superior race from his mystical studies, astral travel, or visions. In 1923, Hitler attempted to stage a coup d'etat known as the Beer Hall Putsch. He was arrested and then sent to prison, where he began writing his book Mein Kampf, My Struggle. In this book, Hitler described in detail his mystical ideas and beliefs. One of the main concepts of his occultism was the idea of the Aryan race. He argued that the Aryans are the highest race and should rule the world. He also believed in the existence of secret societies that controlled world events. And in 1933, he became Chancellor of Germany and began to actively promote his occult ideas. He created the Ahnenerbe organization, which was engaged in the study of ancient mystical traditions and archaeological finds. He also supported mystical practices such as astrology and divination. And during World War II, Hitler continued to use occult ideas in his propaganda. He believed that German soldiers were stronger and more powerful due to their connection with the Aryan race, and one of the most famous projects associated his occultism was Project Witch. Yes, witch and warlord, witches and warlocks. Now, this project was about creating a new type of weapon that would be similar to magic spells. However, the project was closed in 1944 due to lack of resources and time. But what is even more interesting, the Germans did find a way out to one of the most powerful secret societies of that time. Moreover, they were able to get him into allies. The Green Dragon is a mystical Tibetan or Japanese occult order mentioned in esoteric and historical fiction from the beginning of the 20th to the beginning of the 21st century, the Green Dragon. It's alleged that this order allegedly collaborated with the Theosophical Society and the Thule Society, influenced the famous secular figures of Europe who traveled to the east, to Tibet and Japan. It's alleged that Nazis of Tibetan appearance were allegedly discovered during the capture of Berlin in World War II. Some of them died at machine guns, and others lay dead in a circle with occult paraphernalia. In the center of the circle of them lay their leader with green gloves on, revered by the Nazi and Tibetans as the new Messiah, and the man in green gloves, quote unquote. The order was devoted to the study of mystical and esoteric teachings, as well as practices relating to spiritual development. Its members were trained in magic, astrology, divination, and other occult practices. The order was known for its close association with the Japanese government and the imperial family. Its members held high positions in the government and military structures. One of the most famous members of the order was Yukito Mitsumaru, the Japanese envoy to the United States during World War I. He was known for his occult interests and claimed that he could communicate with astral spirits. In 1945, Japan was defeated in World War II, and the Order of the Green Dragon was disbanded. However, its influence continued, and some of its members continued to hold high positions in Japanese society. We are not interested in politics, but in historical connections. For example, how the greatest executioner of the 20th century through the Green Dragon was connected with the Harmless Theosophical Society. The society was founded on November 17, 1875, in New York by Helena Blavatsky, Colonel Henry Olcott, and William Quan Judge. Blavatsky was not directly connected with Hitler, as she died already in 1891, long before the First World War. However, it's not the person that matters, but the idea. 7 races succeeded one another. The first, the root race of the earth, consisted of gelatinous amorphous creatures. The second had a more defined body composition. The 5th root race is living on earth at the present time. The spiritual forces of mankind in the course of its evolution were depleted, reaching a minimum in the 4th race. But as long as the 5th race is moving towards transformation, they will increase. The 5th race will pass into the 6th, and from the 6th, the most worthy will find themselves in the 7th race. Occultism runs like a red thread throughout history, and even Hitler had no personal enmity towards Arabs and Jews. He believed that they were representatives of the spiritually poor 4th race, and with his death, alas, occult ideas have not gone away. They are alive, and what Adolf did not complete, his followers are very likely trying to complete. Beautiful, enlightened, spiritual, quote-unquote, who imagine themselves to be representatives of the 5th race. So if we consider all real events in combination with historical events and knowledge about esoteric cults, then everything falls into place. And this is on Soul Ask. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.